Switch sides on you. Yeah. You see, the thing is, the entire time I've been living a lie, the videos that I've been putting out have been actually mirrored because of the fact that the arm is on this side. So I'm going to try and mix things up. We're switching it to actually being readable across text when you're watching the video. Surprise. So this is the actual way things should be looking, even though it is mirrored twice because the mic arm isn't on the left, it's on the right. So you're actually looking at it as if, but look, besides the insanity happening right now in this video, things have gotten even worse in the Nintendo camp. Fanboys are now doing whatever they can to not only defend what Nintendo has been doing with anti-consumer practices, they are now defending Nintendo raising the price of Mario Kart World to $80 after we had the Nintendo Direct recently. Even though everyone was spamming for Nintendo to drop the price, they decided to not listen to any of the criticism whatsoever, and Mario Kart World will in fact still be $80 at launch MSRP if you don't buy the Switch 2 bundle with the game included, which means that the actual price for the game should be $50. Not 80, but it gets better because it turns out that bundle price is actually a limited time offer. Oh boy, it gets worse every time. And that's what I want to talk about today. The actual Nintendo Switch 2 Derangement Syndrome Boogaloo Part 5000. Because aside from a few Nintendo fanboys, many people have been actually lambasting Nintendo, and good on them, because the prices of games shouldn't be $80 because it will set a precedent of the gaming industry for game companies to charge more money for less product. We saw it already from games going from 60 to 70 and even 50 to 60. Your games still come out broken, buggy, and completely incomplete, but at the same time, they want you to give them more money for it. So, what happened? A little YouTuber named Nintendo Prime happened. Let's go. Nintendo Prime tweeted out the other day saying, well, I figured this was coming. Every video in my timeline is about how Mario Kart isn't worth the money. Is any content creator excited besides me? No, I'm not going to make a is it worth the money video because I'm not interested in that conversation. You know what's funny, Nintendo Prime? The fact that everyone is talking about the price of the game, not because is the game worth the money, but the fact that Nintendo is literally going ahead and setting a precedent for the rest of the gaming industry while also providing everyone a literal Nintendo tax on their own titles. Donkey Kong is $70 when it shouldn't be $70, but the real problem is the fact that variable pricing is coming into play, which means the more hyped people are for a game, the more they will go ahead and charge more money for that product. Who says that $80 is the ceiling? It could be $90 or $100. This entire concept of variable pricing for video games shows that there is no amount to the greed that will be happening, and your complete lack of wanting to have that conversation shows one of two things. Either A, you are literally just a pay pig for that exact company, and you will do whatever you want to spend that money because you are going to support them regardless, or B, you have no morals to grandstand on. But wait, it's so interesting though, because not a few years ago, you said this. Sony is charging $70 for all their next-gen games. Looks like they are pushing the new standard pricing increase we all got mad at Activision for trying to do. Hope Sony gets the same backlash, but they won't because people like them. Hello? Do you want to actually have a conversation about what's happening here, my boy? You're sitting here wanting to avoid the conversation of Nintendo increasing the cost of video games to $80, while at the same time trying to bash Sony and PlayStation and Activision for them increasing the cost of games to $70. And your logic is, well, people like PlayStation, when in reality, there are fanboys across all forms and sections. The problem is fanboys like yourself, whether it's Nintendo fanboys or PlayStation fanboys or even Xbox fanboys defending price increases, goes to show that these people are the ones setting the trends. And when that is accepted among the gaming hardcore space, it is then passed along to everybody else. So instead of actually getting a game at a good price where it should be set, people are now spending more money because pay pigs like yourself yourself want to go ahead and spend that money to support that company because you feel it makes you feel good inside to give Nintendo your money. The funny thing is, though, you're literally sitting here and trying to chastise PlayStation and Sony for $70 games, but are wanting to avoid the conversation of $80 games for Mario Kart World. Do you not understand the hypocrisy in all of this? You don't. Do you know how I know? Because you tweeted this. So apparently Nintendo Prime caught wind of what was being said, and here's the tweet he actually made in response for his defense about trying to lambaste PlayStation for $70 games. Let's take a look and see, shall we? Nintendo Prime says, since this is getting spread, fine, let's talk about it. Yup, that is me. Reading comprehension can be very difficult, and now that it's posted 5 years later, nobody remembers the context. Activision was being blasted for bumping their games to $70. Sony then did the same thing, but barely anyone was calling it out. I pointed out the fact that if you are going to blast Activision, then you should equally be blasting everyone. Look at the heat Nintendo is getting right now over a single $80 game. Not their entire lineup, just a single game. This heat did not exist for Sony when they went to $70. So no, it's not hypocritical to basically say if you're going to blast one company for a price hike, you should equally blast all of them for it. I think it's totally fair to criticize Nintendo over $80 games. If you actually pay attention to what I have said this entire time, I literally have been very consistent about this, but why would I need to call out people to blast Nintendo over something they are already being blasted for? I called out people who weren't willing to do it to Sony, but did it for Activision. I was asking them to be consistent. I get it. Reading comprehension, and now time when context is no longer remembered, leads to people thinking this is a gotcha. My boy, you are absolutely, unequivocally, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the fact that you are literally saying that barely anybody called out Sony and PlayStation for trying to increase the price of games to $70 is actual, literal, by definition, gaslighting. There is no other way around it, my boy. Everyone, the entire internet, was up in arms, lambasting Sony to the point where they had to walk back upgrades for other video games, and $70 games being a massive issue. The thing is, though, that's 5 years ago, and instead of you sitting here and taking the L like you should be, because what you're trying to do is avoid the conversation of it happening to Nintendo, because what you want to do instead is defend Nintendo on your own property and your own aspect, to go ahead and say, hey, wait, you guys are beating up Nintendo too hard. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to be part of that conversation, when in reality what that truly means is you don't want to actually have the real argument and conversation of yourself, signifying that yes, you are getting screwed over by this company that you love so very much, and the fact that you then posted this video we're going to talk about next is going to be the more insane part of all of this. It's not about Activision or Sony or Nintendo. It's about every single company being as greedy as possible to charge you as much money as possible, and fanboys like you that lay down and roll over on your back, on your stomach, to let them go ahead and take you to Pound Town every moment they possibly can to go to your wallet, is the exact reason why games are $70, why Mario Kart World would be $80, and why other games in Nintendo catalog will also hit that same price point, and maybe even more due to variable pricing. You are the reason this is happening. You decided to completely avoid the conversation and to roll over like a dog on the floor because you want to be able to play Mario Kart with your friends truly is the more despicable part of all of this. And the crazier part is you actually made a video trying to explain your own perspective and have failed completely. It gets so good, ladies and gentlemen, when you see the actual corporate bootlicking happening right now in front of you, and people like Nintendo Prime literally going out and batting for a multi-billion-dollar company because they want to buy the video game instead. This is going to be good.
Look, there really isn't a lot I can say about Mario Kart World that's going to excite you one way or another, because the bottom line is, everywhere I've gone since April 2nd, it's just a bunch of drop the price, Mario Kart World's not worth $80, and Look, now we just had a dedicated Mario Kart World Direct that I absolutely adored and thought was really, really good. Maybe not the greatest Direct ever, of course. I think it's very hard to make that claim because I think about 5 minutes of the Direct out of 15 was kind of wasted. But that being said, I actually really enjoy everything happening with Mario Kart World. And that sucks about being this person that enjoys this is I can't talk about it without being chastised, without being called a shill, without saying that I'm justifying $80 for all video games.
Do you know why you're being called a shill about justifying the cost of games, Nintendo Prime? It's not because you're excited for Mario Kart. It's because you're literally avoiding the most important conversation happening right now because of the price of that game. Instead of actually going around and saying, hey, I'm excited for this game, but also the price of this game is truly astronomically insane, is exactly why you're being chastised for it. It's exactly why you're being called a shill about it, because you are completely unwilling to have that conversation. You're unwilling to call Nintendo out in a public space and say, hey, look, this is because these games shouldn't be $80. Hell, they shouldn't be $70. Hell, they shouldn't be $60. At the most, they should be $50. Remember we used to pay that for games? $50, but now we're spending $70 because everybody wants to give more money to a corporation for some insane reason. No, you're sitting there trying to avoid the conversation, even in your own beginning section of the video, literally showcasing why you're being called that, and you're refusing to actually come to grips with it or even wrestle with it at any sense of the point. The literal title of your video is, I'm done with the negativity. That is not what you should be titling your video. It should be, Nintendo, what are you doing? You should be criticizing a company that we have no idea if this is actually going to be consistent with any other game that's coming out for their catalog. And on top of that, the fact that they're doing this experiment and you are rolling over for them is an actual problem. Maybe stop sitting there and saying, hey, I don't want to have the money conversation. I just want to give the multi-billion-dollar company more money for the video game. Consume. That's all you're good for, is consume. Instead of actually fighting back and saying, no, I'm not going to put up with this. But it gets better.
Look, Nintendo's a multi-billion-dollar company. They're not going to go out of business if they price this game at $60. Heck, they wouldn't have gone out of business if they priced the Nintendo Switch 2 at $300. They could have literally taken a loss and made that all back on software sales of $60, $70, $50 games and been just fine. They would make less money and they would be less successful, but they would also be in a good place. Now, would making less money and less successful lead to industry layoffs like everyone else has had to come in their way except for Nintendo? Maybe, or maybe not. It's hard to really know. I think it's okay for corporate entities to not have all of our money, right? I totally get that, and that is a very pro-consumer thing. Things should be cheaper for the consumer. Companies don't need to be trillion-dollar companies like Apple and all of that, right? I mean, the irony of me saying that is I'm rocking an iPhone 16 Pro Max. So I get it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and defend Nintendo.
Here's what I love about this entire thing. Nintendo Prime, the success of a multi-billion-dollar company, is not your concern. It is not the responsibility of you to determine whether or not a company is successful. All they had to do for Nintendo to actually be successful in order to make more money is to have a price that is comparable to other pieces of media, which would have been ideally, as you said before, $60 or $50 or even $400 for the Nintendo Switch 2 would have been able to provide them the ability to sell to more customers, increasing the amount of volume they get. And even if it being sold at a loss, you even said it yourself, they would still be successful. Granted, not as successful. So you're literally admitting to everyone in that first part of the statement that yes, they are doing this out of 100% pure greed and not out of the fact of trying to go ahead and sell the product to more people. They are literally going around and saying, well, do you know what? We've got enough pay pigs like Nintendo Prime to go ahead and give us more money for it. And if we can get more money out of them, we don't have to sell it to more people and cut it at a loss to sell more volume. We got pay pigs to go around and do it for us directly. So even if the volume that we sell isn't as much, we're going to be squeezing more money out of that little piggy bank, aren't we? Oh yeah. And on top of that, you're stating that you're not going to sit here and defend Nintendo while also using things like industry layoffs as if that's already mattered in the first place. Games were $70. In fact, many games can be up to $100 with extra DLC on top. And if people buy those games day one and give that company and publisher all that money, what do they turn around and do? They still lay everybody off in the gaming industry. So literally, you can't do the whole support the developers argument that I've been fighting against from PlayStation fanboys for the last few years. Literally an entire complete waste of space and thought process for that to turn around for you to be like, well, you know, if we give them more money, they won't fire people and it'll be fine. Maybe their budgeting is not my concern. Maybe how they decide to make that money isn't my problem. Maybe how they decide to budget themselves for a video game isn't my responsibility. How have you ever thought of that? Maybe Nintendo's just better at budgeting. That's why their games can be $60 and make a ton of profit on top of that. That's why their games shouldn't have been $70 in the first place when they were $60 when the Switch just launched. They just increased the price for no apparent reason because everybody else was doing it. Remember that part? Remember that aspect? Huh? Did you forget? Switch games used to be $60 at launch. All of a sudden, randomly out of nowhere, they became $70. Why? Because PlayStation did it. So because PlayStation did it, now Nintendo has to do it. And then now because Nintendo's going to be doing it, guess what's going to happen? Everybody else is going to be doing it too because they think they can get away with it. And the fact that you're sitting here talking about companies that happen to have every single piece of money, yet you're buying iPhone 16 Pro Maxes directly, really goes to show the kind of consumer you actually are. You're a mark if I've ever seen one, my boy.
What really sucks right now is we're on the precipice of a brand new generation of Nintendo that by all means seems really exciting. If you take the Mario Kart $80 controversy and you set that to the side, you take that and you put it over here, what you're left with is actually a lot of really great things happening. You're left with things like Donkey Kong Bonanza. People seem legitimately excited about this, and there's buzz coming out of the Switch 2 experiences that this has the potential to at least be in the conversation for Game of the Year. I don't know if it's going to end up that good and if the whole game's experience actually holds up, but people seem genuinely excited about it, and no one seems to care that it's $70. Maybe that's because it's been normalized for a long time. I don't know, but people seem really, really excited about it. It also helps we haven't had a 3D Donkey Kong game since, man, the N64, 1999, like 26 years. It's been a long time.
You gotta love it, right? You just have to absolutely love it. The fact that Nintendo Prime is literally asking you, his viewer, to go ahead and say, hey, you know, if you just take the actual controversial thing that people are really upset about, that is literally going to cost you more money in the long run because other game companies will then copy this model of charging you $80 for video games. If you take that thing and that entire controversy, you just put it to the side, guys. You just kind of like push it away. It doesn't exist. There's nothing to see here. The house burning down behind me. That's not important at all. Don't worry about the cat jumping out of the window trying to save its life because everything's on fire. No, just put it to the side and it'll be all okay. But hey, look at this other video game that's $70 that shouldn't be $70 in the first place. It should be $50 or $60 because all the other games are $50 or $60 before PlayStation decided to go ahead and raise the price of their games, and now Nintendo decided to follow suit on top of that. But hey, we haven't had a Donkey Kong game in like 26 years, so I guess it's worth it. You know what I mean? Bro, what kind of simp are you, my guy? I love Nintendo. I do. I've got my N64. I got some N64 games. I used to have a Switch until I sold that shit for a Steam Deck because I can just emulate it here because the Nintendo is not willing to give me the games on the platform that I want to play them on. Then, well, yar har fiddle-dee-dee, being a pirate is so fun to be. But look, at $80, these games should not be costing that price at all, especially the amount of profit Nintendo makes from their products already, because they already know how to budget the game development already. This entire concept and cope of like, just ignore the whole controversy, guys, and just buy the video game, I swear it's gonna be okay, is not helping you, is not helping anyone in the industry, and it's literally showcasing to you and every other person watching your content that you are in fact the shill you claim not to be.
And I have to note some things, like when people talk about $80, I heard someone criticize things like Cyberpunk 2077 being a $70 game on Nintendo Switch 2, which includes the full DLC. And it's weird because when I go to the PlayStation store, it's $50 for Cyberpunk, but that doesn't include the DLC. The DLC is sold separately for $30, making that an $80 experience to get what we're getting for $70 on June 5th at launch. Now, I suspect there'll be a sale, prices might lower by then, and I'm not going to say Cyberpunk hasn't had a bunch of sales over the years and bundles and the ability to get it cheaper, but I'm just telling you what it's listed at right now on PlayStation. So if it's $80 there, then $70 doesn't seem so bad.
No. We are not going to use an ad hominem fallacy simply stating, well, Cyberpunk 2077 is $50 and then the expansion is $30. Therefore, $80 you're spending for that total game. That means that Nintendo charging $80 for Mario Kart World is perfectly fine, guys. You see how that works? Because these guys are all so bad, that means Nintendo can't be as bad. Therefore, you shouldn't be mad about Mario Kart World. Stop it, Nintendo Prime. You're literally doing this fallacy directly to try and save face for Mario Kart and Nintendo. You said yourself in the video you're not responsible for selling copies of this game, yet you've already gone ahead and tried to minimize the actual controversy by saying, oh, just push it to the side, and then on top of that you've done an ad hominem fallacy to say that, oh, because other people are going ahead and saying this game and this expansion is $80 together, therefore it should be okay for my game to be $80 as well. That's not how that works, because simply yesterday, by going on to GOG.com, I can get the Ultimate Edition for Cyberpunk. This includes the game and the DLC expansion for $42. I can also go to the PlayStation Store and get the expansion and the DLC for $42. The big difference is that these games and these editions go on sale multiple times throughout the year, like you even said yourself. So spending $80 is not an argument, because a customer can simply go ahead and wait to get that game on a much deeper discount than it would be buying them together or buying them as separate pieces. On top of that, that Ultimate Edition price sale is far cheaper than games today. So it's below the 80, below the 70, below the 50. It's at $42, where games should be costing right now, by the way, around that $45 to $50 mark, which is honestly insane. You're trying to use this as an argument, and the moment that this video comes out, that sale is still going on for the next few hours. What are we doing here, bro? You literally admitted to yourself in your own statement that the game has possibly gone on sale multiple times, negating your entire argument and statement. So if you know the game goes on sale, you can't sit there and be like, well, it's $80 when it's not on sale. No shit, Sherlock. I want you to keep digging, Watson, and trying to use that as some way of validating to you that Nintendo should be charging $80 for their games in the first place. Stop it.
Mario Kart World is $80. The Nintendo Switch 2 is $450. Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70. Yeah, Nintendo isn't including the Breath of the Wild DLC into the Switch 2 edition when they should, which some people are then trying to twist that and to argue that it's worth $90, but nobody's saying Cyberpunk is $80 when their DLC is not packed in. Welcome to the industry. Double standards. Nobody says Cyberpunk is an $80 game, but that's what it costs if you want the DLC. Nobody says that. So why are we holding Breath of the Wild to those standards? I'll tell you why. There's a few reasons. One, it's popular to hate Nintendo. People want them to fail. Two, people do have legit concerns. And when you mix haters and wanting Nintendo to fail with legitimate fans who are just really upset that things are jumping in price so drastically from a $60 standard to an $80, although Nintendo technically hasn't made it an $80 standard, although it feels like they have, because like Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 edition's $80, so like that's crazy to a lot of people. And then the relaunching Switch games, Switch 1 games with extra content for $70. It's just, I get it, it's frustrating. We don't have unlimited money. And it's not just happening with Nintendo. Sony just raised their prices of PlayStation 5 in Canada and a bunch of other countries. Not necessarily the system, although some countries they did literally raise the price of the system. They just jacked the price significantly of PlayStation Plus in Canada. You think none of that's going to come to the United States, that we're not going to see PlayStation 5 get more expensive for the second time? That we're not going to see the prices get jacked up again for like the fourth time? Yeah, everything's getting more expensive, and I don't like it.
I need to know who is in this video. I need to figure it out, because honestly, there's so much whiplash going on around here. I have to go to a doctor. What are we talking about, bro? Again, you're trying to use Cyberpunk as an argument when it honestly is not a good argument to use. And then you have the audacity and the gall to go around and be like, well, there's two reasons why it's happening. One, people hate Nintendo. Hello? Hello? Are we doing this right now? Are we doing we have the Nintendo tax like Xbox fanboys are doing the Xbox tax? Oh, the gaming industry hates Xbox. That's the reason why their games always score in the 70s or 60s. Not because their games are actually bad or mid that they were at the time. They're finally putting out good games now. This is what we're doing. There's a Nintendo tax. People just want to see Nintendo fail. Nobody wants to see Nintendo fail. Nintendo's like the last bastion of video games that we've got going on right now. What people don't want to see is Nintendo go the same exact route that PlayStation and other companies are going, trying to squeeze every dollar out of your pocket that they possibly can. Because everybody knows how much games cost. Everybody knows how much money Nintendo makes off of these games. And everybody knows this is not being done for a specific reason. Everybody knows this is being done out of pure 100% greed. And you admitted it yourself. You're talking about PlayStation raising the price of PS Plus. You're talking about PlayStation raising the price of their consoles. You're talking about everybody increasing the price and saying that you don't like it. Yet when Nintendo is raising the price, instead of keeping that same fucking energy and being consistent, what do you do instead? You guys don't look here. Don't look, you guys. It's not real. It's not real, guys. It's not happening. Well, you gotta, Nintendo, guys. There's a Nintendo tax, guys. You gotta protect Mario. I just want to play the game. Why? Why can't you just be like, I'm excited for the game, but this is bullshit, bro? You could do both. You could have more respect from people if you did both, but you're choosing not to. You're choosing to ignore it. You're choosing to stand for it and actually be okay with it, while giving some half-ass argument about Cyberpunk 2077, while literally admitting that they're not even putting all the content in the Switch 2 versions of their games. And you're trying to defend this. Do you not see why people are calling you a Nintendo simp and a shill? Can you not put the pieces together? Do you not see that people like you are the reason why the game industry is exactly the way that you don't like it to be? Because you're accepting of it? How I cooked PlayStation fanboys for saying they want to pay $100 for a video game if it has quality? And you're just doing the same thing now? Except for Nintendo?
I don't have unlimited money. I really don't. I know we're giving away a Nintendo Switch 2, and you can go ahead and enter down in the pinned comment in the description, and we're actually going to give away a second one. And in giving away 2 of those, plus buying my own, and heck, I'm paying for Eric's as well, that's already $2,000 down the bucket, right? That sucks. That sucks. If it was just 4 Switches, it's $1,200, $800 cheaper. But this is a new generation. And every time we enter a new generation lately, it's led to prices going up.
Okay, hold on. Let me get this right, because I know I didn't hear what I thought I heard. I know I didn't. You're going to be giving away 2 Nintendo Switch 2s. You're going to buy one for yourself, and you're buying one for somebody else. You're spending $2,000 of your hard-earned money on Nintendo Switch 2 consoles, and you don't even have the actual testicular fortitude to say, hey, Nintendo, these games shouldn't be $80. You're complaining about spending $2,000 for a giveaway, for 2 giveaways, for yourself and for your friend. And you don't have the balls to tell Nintendo it's too much money. Do you see why you get called a shill? Do you see why you get called a simp? If you were sitting there saying, hey, Nintendo, this is bullshit. I want to buy stuff for my community, and you're literally raking me over the coals. This is absolute garbage. And you stood by every person who had common sense on the internet, except for you apparently, because if you're the only one complaining and everybody else is being like, yo, this is a problem, maybe you haven't looked in the mirror long enough to realize you may not have the right position in all of this now, do you? And using the argument every single generation things go up in price, as if that's okay, as if that's fine, as if that's going to be an okay reason for it to go up in price. Do you want to know what's ruining the industry, Nintendo Prime? It's consumers like you that don't have a spine or a backbone to say no to a company and corporation. Absolute pathetic bitch-made behavior.
It's okay to be excited. It is. It's also okay to ignore all the negativity out there. It's also okay to not give a shit if people are trying to tell you how to spend your money. Everyone thinks they have the answers. Everyone thinks they know better. In an industry with constant layoffs, an industry that seems to be collapsing in on itself, and it's not just due to game pricing. A lot of it's due to game budgets and everything else, and bad management and corporate greed. And there's a lot that led to the situation that the AAA industry in particular is sitting in. And Nintendo has somehow avoided all of that, where they don't have any layoffs, they aren't doing anything, and they're just the most profitable they've ever been during the Switch generation. Nintendo bucked the trends because they did things differently. They don't lower their game prices. They are charging $80 for Mario Kart. Why? Because it's so popular they think they can get away with it. I'm not stupid. We know why. But they're probably right.
No, you're literally admitting in your own video in front of everybody right now exactly why Nintendo is charging $80 for Mario Kart. The entire 22 minutes you've done for this content to literally go around and be like, well, you know why they're doing it? Because they know they can get away with it, because simps like me will buy it anyways. You're literally sitting there and accepting it, actually sitting there in the Adam 22 chair in front of everybody and telling them, well, they've got me by the testiculars. I can't do anything about it. Might as well just give them the money anyways, because they know that they're right, because they're greedy and they're just going to abuse my nostalgia in the first place. They know they can get away with it. The words "they know they can get away with it" literally came out of your mouth into the ether, and you decided to put this video on YouTube, and you were trying to wonder why people are calling you a simp and a corpo shill. I didn't have to say a word. I didn't have to say an actual word about this entire thing at all whatsoever. You did your roasting for me. You literally cooked yourself to perfection in front of everyone right now. People were excited about buying this game. People were excited about buying this product. I was going to go ahead and buy a Nintendo Switch 2. Because I thought to myself, hey, maybe they finally get their shit together. We might have a good Nintendo Switch to have on our hands. And what do? They buck the trend like you just said. They don't lower the prices of their games. Their games don't go on sale. They charge $80 because they know you're going to buy it. But you know what? I'm not. I'm not going to buy it. Them.
So this is the last video I'm going to make addressing this. We talk about it a bit on the podcast tonight as well. Debbie Downers be damned. And I'm not even saying you don't have justifications. What I am saying is I have just as many justifications to be excited. I've got one life to live, man. I'm at my midlife. And you know what? I'm going to choose to be happy. Mario Kart makes me smile. I was smiling like during that entire direct. It's hard to put a price on happiness.
The absolute emotional manipulation that you are literally putting onto yourself, Nintendo Prime, truly is astounding across every single level that I've honestly ever experienced. I can't put a price on happiness, you guys. I've got one life to live, you guys. I'm in my midlife, you guys. I might as well just be happy. You know what's happy? When I see more zeros in my bank account because I know I'm not getting f***ed over by a company. That's what makes me happy. When I'm sitting there and I know that I'm not going to get taken for a ride by another company because they know they can get away with it, which were your own words in the actual video that you just put out not a few days ago. It's people like you that are for everybody else, that are making things harder for everybody else, that don't have the ability, the finances, or the actual lack of a spine to go through and give this company more money simply because they know they can get away with it. The absolute pathetic behavior that you have displayed over the past few days by not being consistent in your own actual words, by literally emotionally manipulating your own self and your own viewers because you just want to be happy, rather than actually having the self-confidence and the ability to say no because you're too much of a mark and a consumer to go through and actually put your foot down about things. You would have way more viewers, you would have way more respect, and people would actually look at you in a better light if you finally stuck up for yourself, but you refuse to do so. Because you'd rather be a simp for a corpo than anything else. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, the fanboys don't fall far from the tree. Whether they're Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, AMD, or Nvidia, I'm here to put them back in line. Every single dummy that bought a 5090 GPU, yeah, you're on my list as well, baby. Every single person who goes around buying a Nintendo Switch 2 trying to cope themselves into some weird sort of prolapsed way of trying to give a company more money simply because they know they can get away with it, yeah, don't worry, the content train never ends on this whole process, and believe you me, baby, I'll be here the entire time for it. But look, if you liked today's video, thank you, and if you didn't like it, fuck you. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content like this, gaming news, and hot takes in the gaming industry, as well as live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 82,000 subscribers, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want to go ahead and get Discord access or most during those live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. Not 5, not 10, not 15, not 20. You could spend $1 redo, 99 cents Reno, and become an actual member of the community. And if you don't want to spend the dollar, don't even sweat it. Just show up to the live streams every Saturday night, install better TTV emotes, and you get free emotes that are animated on YouTube in your browser during the live stream as well. And the community is incredibly giving, and they give out members all the time. So if you want to be a part of that, come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. But with all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!
It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life? This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? Just stop. Just stop. Stop. No. Just stop. You're a fucking idiot. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life? This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? Just stop.